Good morning. My name is Amanda Rivera. I'm the hearing examiner presiding over today's hearing. The date is September 13th, 2022, and this is case SEZ2022-00005. It's a special exception for a property at 8330 Buckingham Road. Because this is a quasi-judicial hearing, all evidence and testimony must be taken under oath. So if you intend to speak, if you could please raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will provide is the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, the way that we'll proceed this morning is first we're going to hear from the applicant. They'll present their requests in this case and call any witnesses that they may have to support their request. Following that, we're going to turn to county staff who will discuss their recommendation in this case. And in this case, they are recommending approval with conditions. After that, it'll be public comment period time. So I will open the floor to any members of the public who wish to speak. If you've completed a form, then I'll call the form at that time, and you can come to the podium and place any comments that you may have into the record. There is only one opportunity to speak, so I encourage that you make notes of things as we go along this morning so that you can make the most of your time at the podium. With that, we will start with the applicant.
Thank you.
Good morning. Excuse me.
Good morning. I'm Veronica Martin, Senior Planner with TDM Consulting. I'm representing the applicant, Niobe Castillo. I have been accepted as an expert witness in the LEAP plan and the Land Development Code and asked to be accepted as such again today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. The request before you today is to permit consumption on premises of alcoholic beverages type 13 CT, beer, wine, and liquor, in conjunction with limited food and beverage service associated with an agritourism activity. We are in agreement with staff's recommendation of approval, including the conditions, as noted in the 48-hour letter. I do have two exhibits to add to the record. One is a hard copy of today's PowerPoint presentation, and the second is an 11:17 copy of the COP distance exhibit. I did not see that included with the staff report.
Thank you very much. So the PowerPoint will be applicant's exhibit 1, and the 11:17 exhibit will be applicant's exhibit 2. Thank you. Thank you.
The 10-acre subject property is located at 8330 Buckingham Road in the Buckingham Planning Community, approximately 3 miles east of State Road 82. On the area location map, it's outlined in red. The future land use category is Rural Community Preserve, and the zoning is Agricultural, AG2. The subject property does have a bona fide agricultural use on 9 of the 10 acres as a cattle farm. The land surrounding the subject property is also in the Rural Community Preserve Future Land Use category and zoned AG2. The lots to the east are 10 acres in size as well. The property immediately to the east, and I'm going to use the pointer to point these out as I'm talking about them. This property here is an existing place of worship. The other lots to the east are zoned AG2 and are used as single-family residence and agricultural uses. The lot immediately to the west here connects to this large property to the north for a total of 46 acres. There's a single-family residence here, and the rest is heavily wooded, as you can see. The lots further west are also zoned AG2 and are used for single-family residence and agricultural purposes. The lots to the south of Buckingham Road are zoned RS1 and are in a single-family subdivision here. Land Development Code Section 34-2 defines agritourism as any agricultural-related activity on land classified as agricultural under Florida Statute Section 193.461. It has been established that 9 acres of the 10-acre property is currently used for bona fide agricultural purposes. The Florida statutes were expanded in 2016 to clarify that agritourism activities do include civic and ceremonial uses, which include wedding venues. The property is long and narrow. It's only 276 feet wide by 1,530 feet long. In order to fit it on this slide, I do have it separated into two parts. The full access driveway is located on Buckingham Road here. It travels up, and there's another access road to the two centrally located parking areas. Connects to the single-family residence here. Continues further north. This is the gardens in the ceremonial area here, with the consumption on premises dedicated area here with an existing pole barn.
And you may get to it later, but is there discussion of how guests will get from the parking area to the actual site activity areas?
They've had different methods of transportation that include walking, golf carts, the little trams, things like that. Land Development Code Section 34-1264 requires a 500-foot separation distance from the COP area to the property line of places of worship or residential uses under separate ownership. The COP area is located to the rear of the property. The nearest residential property line to the north is located 27 feet from the reception area and 53 feet to the west. The property line for the place of worship is approximately 100 feet to the east. I did provide the distance exhibit with a 500-foot radius. As you can see on the slide, the 500-foot radius from outside of the rectangular COP area. And as you can see from the exhibit, that although the abutting property lines are less than 500 feet away, the actual residential homes are located much further away than 500 feet. The residence to the southwest here is 984 linear feet from the reception area. The place of worship here is 1,115 feet to the southeast. The nearest residence to the east here is 840 feet from the reception area. And the nearest residence to the north, this one, is approximately 1,127 feet from the reception area. And I will say that this is based on the Lee County Lee Spin's property appraiser website and the dimensions provided through that mechanism.
And it looks like the diameter of the circle that is drawn is 564 feet. Is there a reason why it's beyond the 500?
It is because the actual reception area is a rectangle, so I did it outside the rectangular area.
So this is a more conservative view of, so the closest residence that you're showing here is the 840 feet.
Yes, ma'am, this one right here. Properties and the rural community preserve future land use category are to remain predominantly rural in character and use, with low density residential uses, agricultural uses, and minimal non-residential uses that are needed to serve the community. The 10-acre property, as noted before, is a bona fide agricultural use with 1 acre for single family. Agritourism activities are permitted by right in the AGT zoning district, and this is consistent with policy 1.4.3. Lead Plan Policy 5.1.5 seeks to protect existing and future residential areas from any encroachment of uses that are potentially destructive to the character and integrity of the residential environment. Conditions of approval, including hours of operation and amplified music, are proposed to mitigate any negative impacts the COP may have on neighboring residentially zoned or use areas. The hours of operation are Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. The Buckingham Community Plan is established by Goal 30 of the LEAD Plan. Policy 20.1.8 requires the applicant to conduct a public information meeting within the community plan area. That meeting was publicly advertised and held on May 19th, 2022. There were lots of questions regarding agritourism activities at that meeting, but the main concerns were traffic and noise. I did advise them of the limited hours of operation for the COP and the amplified music. I did have one attendee tell me that he does live nearby, but he doesn't hear music or noise from this venue, but he does hear it from the Buckingham bar nearby.
The site has been operating as a wedding venue, but just without the COP.
Yes, ma'am.
approval to this point. Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
there's some history. Do you know how long they've been operating?
I believe they started at the beginning of last year.
And there's no noise complaints that you're aware of that have been made
There have been noise complaints
through the sheriff's office?
through the sheriff's office.
Okay.
There has not been a code enforcement issue on this property, though, for the noise.
Okay.
Lead Plan Policy 20.4.4 requires outdoor lighting to be designed to reduce light pollution and light trespass. Staff has proposed a condition consistent with the Lead Plan and Land Development Code requirements to address that issue. And Objective 20.6 reinforces Buckingham's goal to protect and support existing agricultural uses, including the cattle farm.
So is that, and you may have said it, the agricultural exemption, is that it's for cattle?
Yes.
Okay. And where is that activity located on the site?
Right now, currently, whoops, excuse me, sorry. I hit the wrong button. This area all here is pasture. This area and this area is also pasture, and these are actually fenced-in areas. They're going to use those during the weekends for the parking.
Okay, so they remove the cattle from those sites and then it's fenced
Right.
along the perimeter of where the cattle are contained
Right.
at the beginning of the property?
Correct.
Okay.
They own other property and they rotate the cattle. And before we get too much further along, I did want to mention, to be completely transparent, this property does have a code violation, but it was for constructing of a bathroom facility without a permit, which they are in the process of abating. But they do not have a code violation for noise. The conditions placed on the approval, it's limited to the indoor and outdoor consumption on premises in conjunction with the limited food and beverage service accessory to an agritourism activity. And it must be offered in conjunction with the food and non-alcoholic beverages service during the agritourism-related events. The location of the consumption on premises is limited to the area labeled as reception space, as shown on the site plan, attached as Attachment C. And the boundaries of the COP must be clearly posted on the physical property to demonstrate limits of the agritourism participants. Again, the hours of operation for indoor and outdoor consumption on premises are limited to from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday, and 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sunday. And I do want to testify that that's also the noise ordinance for Lee County. Amplified music is also limited to 11 a.m. until 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturday, and 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sunday. The property must maintain a continuous agricultural exemption from the Lee County Property Appraiser's Office. Any lapse in the agricultural exemption renders the special exception null and void, and they will be required to restore the COP on the subject property. All parking must be located on site. Outdoor lighting used in conjunction with the evening events must be shielded and pointed down to stop the light from trespassing on adjacent properties. Lastly, we do believe we meet the criteria set forth in Land Development Code Section 34-145C. It is consistent with the goals and objectives of the Lee Plan. It will not negatively impact any environmentally critical or sensitive areas or natural resources. It is compatible as conditioned with existing uses within the surrounding neighborhood. It will not be injurious to the neighborhood or detrimental to the public health or welfare, and will comply with the zoning regulations pertaining to the use and other applicable regulations. That does conclude my presentation, but I can answer any questions you may have.
Can you go back to the site plan and show exactly where the COP area is going to be? Can that get bigger, Sharon, by any chance? Can we make it like a full screen?
I tried.
Thank you. I know, I'm not sure what happened. Thank you.
Perfect. So this area here is where they actually hold the wedding service. There's a string lights and an arbor and things like that right there. So that's where they have the service. And then they come back here. This is the existing pole barn. They usually have the table set up under the pole barn. And we have approximately 100 feet surrounding the pole barn for the COP use area.
Okay, so where the condition that you read says where it says reception space. So
Yes,
that
ma'am.
it's isolated to that box
Yes.
at the rear of the property. Okay.
And I will explain why there's a larger vacant area left here on the site plan. It's for the caterers to bring the food for the reception, for the people who provide the music and lighting and things like that. Also to bring the bridal party to the event. So they come down the driveway and park here, unload everything, and then continue to park in the parking area. But we left that area reserved for those purposes. So there's, the COP area does not extend clear to the property line.
Okay. And Zach, you said there would be signage or demarcation?
Yes, ma'am.
Somewhere to isolate folks so that they're
Yes,
boxed
ma'am.
into that area?
Mhm.
I haven't done my site visit yet on this case. Do I need access to drive through here?
Their gates are always open at the
Okay.
driveway.
Okay, and can you just let them know I'm coming?
Yes, I will.
It's a private property, so I always feel a little apprehensive getting this far into it
Okay.
because I do want to drive all the way back. It shows that the driveway extends
Right.
all the way around. The COP type is unique. It's not one that we typically see. Can you provide some more information on that?
That is limited just for a catering facility to serve beer, wine, and alcohol on a limited basis.
Well, the caterers that come to the site, they hold the license, and the approval that we're doing today just authorizes the underlying land to accommodate the license?
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
will the land itself be tied somehow to a caterer license? They don't have kitchen facilities on site.
They do not have kitchen facilities on site. The property owners will not be providing food or beverage service themselves. It's strictly through catering service.
Okay, so someone would have to contact the owner and say they wanted to host is it exclusively weddings, or is it, okay, so they want to host their wedding on the property, and then it's left to that person to separately accommodate whatever catering and food and beverage
Yes,
that they're
ma'am.
going to have? Okay. And they've been operating and hosting weddings for the last year and a half just without the alcohol service?
Correct.
Okay. That was the extent of my questions. Did you have any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. Whenever you're ready, Sharon, thank you.
Good morning. Sharon Benamchian from the county zoning. My resume is on file. I was recognized as expert in zoning issues. I would like to be recognized as such at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this is just the special exception for COP, for consumption on premises. The use is permitted by right. And when this agritourism started, it was meant to be for agricultural activity, in conjunction with agricultural activities. So they bring kids to show them how to farm and things like that. But over the years, state legislatures decided to add cultural and ceremonial events to that. And we had no choice but to amend our land development code, so we are in compliance with the state statutes. That's how we are getting all these event venues and wedding venues. in the agricultural area because of state statutes. The request is limited to the box that is shown on the north, and it's labeled as reception area, I believe. And there are conditions, staff has 7 conditions for the consumption on premises. In the past, if you had a wedding venue with no permit, like no COP permit, you could get a temporary one for that day, but there are limitations on that. So getting a COP would allow them to have every week, serving alcoholic beverages, but it's not a bar. They are not. This one does not allow them to sell liquor. They're just serving of liquor on that property during the event. That's the limitation of the 13 CT. And with that, they are in compliance with the requirements of the Land Development Code and the LEAP plan. And staff recommends approval of the request subject to staff stipulations or conditions.
One question, I think it was the minutes from the public information meeting. Somebody asked the question about whether it was inside or outside, and I thought I recalled them saying that it's an open air. It's an existing pole barn.
The pole barn.
But it's open air, but the approval is for indoor and outdoor consumption on premises. So where is that happening? It's still isolated just to this area?
We call it indoor because of the pole barn. It's the summertime, they may have something to enclose it, some curtains and stuff to make it cooler. So we just wanted to make sure that the entire area is covered.
Okay, but it is still limited to the reception area inclusive
Oh,
of the pool.
correct. And they have post signs to indicate the limitation of the area.
Okay. That was the only
That's it.
question that I had.
Thank you.
Now we're to the public comment portion. I've got one card here. It's for Helen Edenfield. Good morning.
Good morning. So yes, my name is Helen Edenfield. I'm the resident to 840 feet to the east of the property. I actually have the 20 acres to the east, so just on the other side of the place of worship is where my property starts, and then my residence is on the secondary 10 acres there. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience from last season when they had wedding venues at the property. And the noise ordinance complaints primarily probably came from us because although the house sits 840 feet away, during the wedding venue, the music was so loud that my bedroom is on the west side and it would rattle my windows. I unfortunately suffer from migraines. We actually moved out to the country to be able to help mitigate noise, and I have to be in a very quiet, dark space. I think we called, it's either 7 or 8 times. The reason why the noise ordinance was not pressed further is because Lee County shares their meters, and we were not able to get a working meter out to be able to measure the sound. During 5 of the visits that the Lee County Sheriff came out, they did go over and request that the music be turned down, and they complied when that happened. However, depending on what was going on in Lee County Sheriff's world, sometimes it wasn't until very late in the evening, and last season they did operate until 11 p.m. Now, I will say respectfully, at 11 p.m. the music stopped, and that was fine. However, from the time that they started, which was usually 6 in the evening, all the way through, we had loud music. It was primarily on Saturday evenings. I'm little more concerned to see that they're extending their hours, because the 10 acres to the west of us that we bought to be able to enjoy on Saturday evenings, again, the music was so loud, we could not host anything on our property. So there's the noise issue that definitely is impactful to us. Secondarily, with, and I don't know enough about how alcohol and catering and those type of things work. However, I do know Buckingham is a 2-lane road. You have a venue that is going to be providing alcohol. I don't know what to excess or limit or those type of things. Parking on-prem. When you go to visit, it is a one-way in, one-way out driveway. So you have that additional traffic that will be coming onto Buckingham, and we're right after that S-curve, and it's already a dangerous thoroughfare as is. So introducing that coming out is of a concern as a resident. But my primary really is the noise issues that, you know, render us not being able to use that 10 acres. And then again, from a resident standpoint, even though we're 840 feet out, it is very impactful when they do have venue events. I would have liked to have seen that with the complaints that they would have changed course and have been a little respectful to their neighbor. However, again, it was every event on a Saturday evening having to call. The only times that we weren't calling is because we were out of town. So it was not impactful because we were not home. So that is, you know, primarily, and also just, I want to note, I don't have a problem with them using their property for however they want to use the property. But when it's impactful where I can't use my 10 acres, and when I'm laid up in bed with a migraine and it's impactful, and I have to call to have, you know, something done about it, that's where, you know, to me, it's I think there was something in quality or detriment to, you know, the other residents, and it is impactful.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming today. Back to the applicant. Do you know what hours they've been operating up until now, or currently until this approval?
Historically, they have only been having the wedding receptions on Saturdays. However, they have been asked to host the rehearsal dinners on Friday evenings, and they've also been asked to have afternoon Sunday weddings, which is why we added those 2 days. I do believe that Ms. Castillo did tell me that they were, that the receptions had been held till 11 p.m., but because of the noise ordinance, we scaled that back to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday, and then 9 p.m. on Sunday.
And for Sunday, I think you just said that they were primarily thinking of doing
Afternoon weddings.
activities. So can we move the 9 p.m.
Sure.
up to something
To
that's
6.
6 p.m. is exactly what I was thinking, to make that a little, and for the benefit, again, the approval that they're asking for, what, I don't know if you heard staff saying, the use is already approved, and so what they're asking for is alcohol consumption as part of that use. So it sounds like this approval would actually be more restrictive than what's been happening now in terms of the time, so that at least there would be some time parameters. But I want to be sure that we take care of that, because certainly we want to be sure that we're not having negative impacts on the neighbors. And is there anything that they've done or will be doing to try to assuage any of the noise concerns?
When I spoke to Ms. Castillo about the noise complaints from the neighbors, and she had told me that they live in that house, so they hear how loud the music is, and they didn't seem that it was excessively loud, but they're inside the home, and sometimes music travels, of course, especially across the water, and as you can see on the site plan, there's a water body on the adjacent property. But they are always very good about turning the music down or advising the staff, the service staff, that the music needs to be turned down, or that their event is exceeding the time limit, that they need to wrap it up and go, things like that. So, but they're, with the Lee County noise ordinance and now code enforcement involved, hopefully that will help Miss Edenfield out with keeping that contained.
Sometimes by reorienting the loudspeakers, you can mitigate some of the noise issues. If the speakers are in the back facing the front, the noise wouldn't travel that much to the back and
And
bother
that's
the
in
neighbors.
the condition, so that's something that we could add into the noise, the condition number 4, to have any of the speakers oriented towards, where are right now, if there is outdoor, so they have outdoor amplified music. I thought I said something about live music as well. Are they having live music on site?
Not that I am aware of.
Okay.
As far as Ms. Castillo had spoken with me, it was all, for the reception, it was a DJ. Sometimes for the wedding, they may have a harpist or that type of music.
But that would be within the facility that's farther south of the site?
Correct.
Okay. So condition 4 could be modified so that the speakers are oriented interior, essentially, to the boxed area. The reception area, I think, is how
Yes.
that's termed. Okay. Okay, did staff have anything further that they
No.
wanted to put onto the record? Okay, and applicant, did you have any rebuttal or concluding closing thoughts?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I will go ahead and conclude the hearing for today then. Thank you very much for coming. Because you filled out a form, you will receive a copy of the decision once it's released. I appreciate everyone being here. Please stay well, stay safe.
Thank you.